It was a dark and stormy night, the kind of night that made you want to stay indoors and avoid the world. But for Sarah, it was just another night driving home from work, and she had no idea what was waiting for her on her journey. Sarah was driving down a deserted road in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by tall trees and overgrown bushes. It was so dark that she could hardly see the road ahead of her, and the rain was coming down in torrents, making it difficult to keep her car steady. As she drove, she noticed a car following her. At first, she thought nothing of it, just another car heading in the same direction. However, as the car continued to tailgate her, she began to feel uneasy. Sarah tried to shake the car by making a few turns, but the car continued to stay right behind her. A feeling of dread began to settle in Sarah's stomach. She knew something was wrong. Desperate, she pulled into a gas station called Quick Pit Stop, hoping the car would continue on its way. As she got out of her car, she noticed the driver of the other car had also parked. When she saw him get out of the car, she realized he was wearing a mask. Before Sarah could get back into her car, the man grabbed her. He dragged her to his car and threw her into the back seat. The man then drove off into the night, leaving Sarah alone and terrified. For what felt like hours, the man drove through winding roads and narrow lanes, with Sarah in the back seat, unable to move or speak. The rain was still coming down hard, and Sarah could barely see anything outside the car, except for the occasional flash of lightning. Finally, the car came to a stop outside an abandoned warehouse called the Black Hole. The man dragged Sarah out of the car and into the warehouse, where he locked her in a small room with no windows. The room was cold, damp, and smelled like death. For weeks, Sarah was kept in that room. The man would come in and torture her, leaving her with bruises, cuts, and broken bones. He would tell her that he was going to keep her there forever, that no one would ever find her. Despite the unbearable pain and despair, Sarah never gave up hope. She knew escape was the only way to survive. So she began to plot her escape, carefully watching the man's every move. One day, when the man came into the room to torture her, Sarah launched her attack. She fought with all her might, using every ounce of strength she had left. In the chaos, she managed to grab a nearby tool and kill the man. Exhausted and battered, Sarah managed to escape the warehouse and run to the nearest police station, which was called Blue Shield. She was finally safe. The police investigated the warehouse and found evidence of other victims who had suffered the same fate as Sarah. They were able to identify the man as a notorious serial killer who had been on the run for years. The experience forever changed Sarah. She would never forget the terror she felt that night, or the strength she found within herself to survive. She moved away from the town, changed her name, and started a new life. But the memories of that dark and stormy night would always haunt her.